1 of effective communication, and you'll have to tolerate my face for 2 more sessions, which is effective communication 2 and interview readiness as well. Okay, so in this particular session, we're going to be understanding how you can make communication impactful and effective in the workplace specifically, right? So, I mean, the session is about communication, so I definitely want all of you all to be more participative than you are in any other session. This is going to be a hands-on session. It's going to be very interactive. And I believe communication is one of those skills that you learn by doing a lot more than just learning. And just, it's not going to happen if you just learn theoretically and not do it, right? So that's pretty much why this is going to be a very interactive hands-on session. And also, I'm not going to start the session before I can see all of your faces. Come on, we're going to tolerate each other for 3 more sessions. So it's only fair that we all get to know each other, right? Yeah? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
No, maybe, don't know. You guys, come on. I'm not able to see any of y'all. Right.
Yes,
Okay, 1 second.
Stop.
Hey, you guys, I'm so sorry. I think there was a power outage, so the internet had to restart. Are you all able to hear me clearly? Am I audible?
yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, come on. Let's first begin by seeing your faces. Yeah? Okay. Hi, Sona, Simi, Sweetie, Madhuri, whose door I can see. Jaita,
Yes, ma'am.
Vidya, Tanmaya, Surya, Priya, Nandini, Vidya again. Hi.
Hi,
Davina,
ma'am.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for keeping your video on. See, it's going to be a very interactive session. And like I said, communication is a skill you learn by doing. And I'm only going to be picking people I can see. So keep your video on. Have a great experience. I don't know why I can see a few familiar faces. Have some of you all already attended any of my sessions before? Anybody here? I
No,
don't know why.
ma'am.
No,
I,
ma'am.
I I'm able to. I don't know. Vidya Gopalan. I
Yeah.
don't know. Your face is very very familiar. I thought I had already met you somehow.
I have not interacted with you. Maybe on LinkedIn.
Maybe. Okay. Anyway, so let's begin this session without any further delay. I usually start with a little game and stuff when I have a very boring class or when people don't turn their camera on. But now I can see that all of you all are up and energetic and quite interested. I want to believe, yes or no? Are you ready to get started? Come on, shout. I want to be able to.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
louder. Come on.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I love hearing a lot of yeses in the session and in life in general. So, without any further delay, let's get started. And my name is Aarti Venkatesh. I am here because I love communicating and I pretty much made a career out of it. I am a social media strategist. I am a resume writing expert. I'm basically a writer at large, right? And I've been helping brands, influencers, and people communicate for over 5 years now. And in case any of you all want to stay in touch with me, I'm going to be dropping 3 links on the chat box. One is that of my LinkedIn profile, another is that of my Instagram profile, and the third is my services page on TalkMate. So that said, let's get started finally. For the nth time, I'm saying that. I'm really sorry about that part. But anyway, I want to begin with a very, very simple question. So what is communication to you? What is communication? Just unmute and speak. What does communication mean to you?
Conveying your thoughts from conveying your thoughts to other person in different
Okay.
modes, be it reading, be it oral communication, be it written communication, be it your body language or expressions.
Okay. Okay. It's
In an
basically
understandable-
an exchange of your thoughts is what you're trying to say. Okay. That's a great answer, Sonam. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
and it should be understandable as well as the
Sorry,
context
who's
should be
speaking? See, there are a lot of people in the class, and I can only see like 4 people on my right side. So if you tell me your name, I'll be able to recognize you and pin you to the top.
this is Surya.
Okay, hi
Surya
Surya.
Prabhavati. Hi.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's just as she said, it's a exchanging of thoughts in a rightful manner. I mean, like the context should be understandable to the opposite person.
Okay, okay. So now you've already gone there. Let me ask you, what makes communication good or bad? What's the differentiating factor that makes communication good or bad?
I say 3 things. First thing, the way we speak.
Okay. So
Here
now
is definition of
no. You're now telling me how to communicate. I'm asking what makes communication good or bad? If you do this, this is good communication. If you do this, this is bad communication. Okay, yeah. Vidya, yes.
Yeah, whether I am able to tell the same of information which I am expecting them to listen, and whether they are in the same line of my thought. If it is received in the same way, then that is a great communication. As for me.
Okay, so if your intended message reaches your receiver in the way it's intended, then that makes for good communication.
Yeah.
Okay, Savita, yes. What makes bad communication?
Maybe the tone we speak with each other and the facial expression we.
Okay, so you're again dwelling into, I mean, you're again delving into the how part of communication. So I want to know what makes communication bad, right? Yeah, Vidya. But thanks for answering, Savita. Yeah, that's not a wrong answer. It's just a different question altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Keeping quiet and
Okay.
keeping all the expressions within yourself and answering
Okay.
within, not expressing much, that will lead to many
Okay.
complications.
Okay. When your message creates further complications from before, compared to before, then it is bad communication, is what Vidya says, and rightfully so, right? So basically, good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity. Right? Why do we communicate? We communicate for a lot of reasons. We communicate to instruct, right? We instruct children. We instruct, our subordinates. We instruct the people at home, maybe a house help, a cook. We tell them what to do. We communicate to instruct. We communicate to share emotions and thoughts when we talk to our family, when we talk to our partner. In this session, I am communicating to educate, right? I'm trying to tell you something. I'm trying to teach you something, right? So there are a lot of reasons why, you communicate. And good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity. So the bottom line is that when you communicate, there needs to be more clarity than there was before you communicate. Exactly like what Vidya said, right? It shouldn't lead to further complications and confusion. That's the whole point of communication. Now, how do you communicate effectively? How do you make sure that happens? How do you ensure that the intent with which you're communicating is received correctly and as intended by the receiver, right? So, the starting point to that is that we must realize and acknowledge that we all look at things differently. We are all different in the way we perceive the world, right? For instance, I look at this as my favorite bottle simply because it gives me, I mean, it's very easy to drink and I use it all the time. Okay. Vidya might look at this as a flask. Sona might look at this as a blue colored bottle, right? Savita might look at this as a bottle that looks pretty heavy, right? We all look at and perceive things differently in this world. And the moment you understand that and you use that understanding as a guide to communicate with others, you'll be able to communicate effectively. The biggest mistake people make while communicating is that they assume that what you intend to communicate is received, right? That's where miscommunication begins. And miscommunication is the root cause for a lot of problems across different relationships between partners, between a husband and a wife, a boyfriend and a girlfriend, whatever, between a boss and a subordinate, between colleagues, between anybody you're trying to instruct, right? The killer of communication is an assumption that everything is clear to everybody at all. Right? So the first thing you need to do to be able to communicate effectively is to understand that you are a different person. The person you're communicating with is a completely different person. And it's your job to make it abundantly clear to your receiver what you're intending to communicate. Right? And that is exactly what this session is going to be focused on. And that is exactly what we're going to try to learn in this 1.5 hours. And we'll hopefully succeed in the end. I'll check in with you all towards the end of the session and see how it goes. Yeah. Okay. Effective communication. Now, so far we've established what communication is. We've established what good and bad communication are. So we kind of have an understanding of what standard of communication we're looking at. And that standard is that our intended message should be received as it is. Right? Now that we know those standards, let's look at how to make how we get there, right? Just the way by which we can make communication that effective, right? So there are two main things you have to keep in mind to do in order to communicate effectively, especially at the workplace, right? First thing is consolidation. What does consolidation mean? Can someone answer that? Yeah. What does consolidation mean? You guys, I'm not going to take a silent class for an answer.
It is compilation type, like when we compile the results, part 1, result 2, part 3.
Correct. So basically, you have a lot of information to say, and you are giving it to someone in a consumable format. That is consolidation, right? So how do you consolidate? Now, first thing about consolidation is setting context, right? You must contextualize your speech. You might at any given point in time, you might have a lot of things to say to a lot of people, but they are not essentially on the same line. So for instance, imagine you say you want to talk to your boss and you want, say, to have a one-on-one meeting with your boss. There's not going to be one spectrum of things that you have to discuss. You might want to discuss about a race because you have another offer at hand. You might want to discuss about taking 3 days off because you have a personal commitment to attend to. You might want to talk about how you need their help to talk to a different team's head because you need work done in a certain way. You might also want to talk about the performance of a certain colleague that could be better. Right? So these are all in different spectrums. These are all different things that need to be contextualized and consolidated. You can't just talk about random things out of the blue and expect somebody to understand. Remember, I'll definitely keep going back to the statement that the basic of communication is you acknowledge that everyone looks at the world differently, right? And one part of it is understanding that everyone's preoccupied at all times, right? They have 500 other things to do. For them to be able to concentrate and pay attention to what you say, it should logically make sense, number one, right? There should be some context, and it should be easily understandable for them. It should be given in a format where they can understand it better. Now, how do you do that? You structure and organize your thoughts, right? And you do that by compartmentalizing your thoughts, meaning you break them down into smaller points, or you break them down into smaller tasks, whichever is applicable to your situation. And then you're going to present them in a logical flow or a pattern, right? For instance, right, when you're trying to talk to somebody and you have a lot of things to say, right, you randomly just start talking, and even if you're communicating greatly, okay, they're going to still not know what to expect, right? If I'm coming and telling you, there are, I'm going to be talking about effective communication. I'm going to be talking about how you can articulate better. I'm going to be talking about how you can summarize and paraphrase. You're paying attention to me, yes. You're trying to understand me, yes. But you don't know where the start and end is. Instead, if I come and tell you, in this session, we're going to be talking about 3 key things. 1 is effective communication. 2 is how you can be articulate in the workplace. 3, how you can summarize better, right? Because I said there are 3 key things I'm going to discuss, you're able to focus better. You're able to understand me better, right? 3 is the smallest number that makes a pattern. Every time before you have a conversation that is, a little more important than the rest of it, please try to consolidate your thoughts first, put them in a logical format, and go in with a number. Just say, I have 3 things to discuss. I have 5 things to discuss. Much easier for the receiver of your message to understand and internalize it better, right? Say that you have 3 things to discuss, and then present them in an order. That it doesn't stop where you say I have 5 things and you just randomly put it, right? Organize it in a way it's easy for them to understand. Either the smallest concern to the biggest concern to the smallest concern. You have good news and bad news. You go from bad to good or good to bad, right? Then there's a logical flow. It might not make sense to you in face value, but as the receiver of a message, they will find it much more easier to concentrate and act upon what you're saying if you do this. Okay, that's number 1. That's consolidation. Second is confidence. Now, I have a question. Okay, and let me pick somebody and then ask them. Yeah. So Simi, hi, Simi. How are you doing? Good morning. Simi S. Nath. Hi.
Yeah, good.
Okay. So, Simi, has there ever been a situation, especially at the workplace, where you didn't feel confident enough to communicate?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah. Can you recall and tell me what that situation was?
Maybe like you don't know exactly, what to tell over there. So
No,
definitely,
explain the situation to me. Give me more context. What happened and
ma'am, like
how?
that is like many years back. So
10 years ago. Okay.
yeah.
Forget it. Just tell me what made you feel that way.
So if
What
you
killed
don't
your
have
confidence?
the proper content, if you don't know what to talk over there, if you don't know about the topic, definitely you will be not confident to talk. But you know what you want to talk, what you want to convey, you can confidently tell them.
Okay, makes sense. Everybody else also, please open the chat box and tell me what kills your confidence at the workplace when you're communicating. Very, very quickly. And maybe I could, Sweetie, you can maybe unmute and tell me what kills your confidence too. Yeah. Okay. I have 2 new messages. Content. What else? Come on. Asking
Vocabulary
for
might
favor.
be, and knowledge.
Okay, knowledge, vocabulary. Okay. Lack of vocabulary as my native language is Hindi. Okay. Doubting, self-doubt. Okay. Yes, that we might be judged. Yes. Confusion, lack of knowledge. Okay. So the main things that you guys are telling me is vocabulary or coherence. Second is a lack of knowledge. Third is self-doubt. Fourth is the fear of being judged, which is what I'm trying to get at, right? So most common things that affect your confidence or eat into it rather when you're at the workplace is firstly when the stakes are very high. For example, you're negotiating your salary with a recruiter. The stakes are very high. The way you communicate is either A, going to give you more salary or much lesser, or it's either going to get you the job or you're not going to have a job at all, right? Which means stakes are very high, right? It's a make or break, it's a do or die situation. When the stakes are very high, you feel less confident. Second is the fear of judgment or shyness or self-doubt, right? So how do you fix that? See, most of the time, like you guys mentioned, lack of knowledge is a thing. And the point being, most of all your problems, what you're saying, the stakes are high, the fear of judgment, shyness, self-doubt, lack of knowledge, all of this is a mindset shift and that's the only thing that can possibly fix it, right? I have had situations where, so this was my first job and I was really good at my job, okay? I knew that for sure. But I just simply couldn't communicate for whatever reason, right? I just couldn't. And my colleague, Preksha, who joined literally on the same day as me, even though she made a career shift. She did not even study marketing. She did a random BCom something. She was not an industry expert. She made a career switch. She was like a fresher. She was just learning. And just because she was able to communicate easily, she got all the great projects, right? So my point is, it's not always a lack of knowledge. It's not always a skill-based problem. It's more of a mindset shift, right? And recently, I was just listening to a mental health professional say this, and it made so much sense, right? She said, I've helped so many people get out of depression, anxiety, and a lot of those spectrum of disorders, but I've never been able to help even a single person who did not want to accept that help, right? So my point being, you can wake up a person who's actually sleeping. You can't try to wake up a person, you can't awaken a person who's pretending to sleep, right? That's exactly what this is. Unless and until you truly intend to fix it, it's not going to happen. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's going to, be an overnight process. No, it's a long process. It's a very tiring, tedious process. But when you put in that effort consciously and you remember that the stakes are not so high and a mindset shift, that's when it will happen. And hopefully by the end of this session, you will walk out of the session a little more confident than you were before, right? Because you know how to put your thoughts into, words, right? Okay, moving on. Let's see how we can do that. The easiest way to be more confident at the workplace and how you act is by being assertive. What does assertiveness mean? Can someone tell me what assertiveness means? Yeah? Come on, guys. I don't like the silent class. Not for this one, at least. Okay. I'm going to name drop if no one's saying anything. Yeah, so Tanmay, hi. I haven't spoken to you today.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Morning. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. So what do you think assertiveness means? What is the word assertive?
I think it is like thoughtfulness or like talking whatever is there in the mind, maybe like that. I don't know the exact meaning actually.
That's okay. That's okay. See, the only thing is, do you remember what I said about confidence? It's not going to come without you guys trying to talk at least.
Yes, yes.
The moment you stop fearing being wrong, that's all. There's no stopping you. They say how you should dance like no one's watching.
Yeah.
Do that now, right? When
Yes.
I ask something, everybody, come on, like you should be more participative. You shouldn't be worrying about whether you're right or wrong. You should just tell me, right? It's okay if you're wrong. That's my job. My job is to make sure you get it right towards the end of it. Don't do my job for me. It's okay if you're wrong. Just go with the flow and tell me what it is, right? So who else can I ask? Sweetie Kumari, hi.
Might be spontaneity.
Spontaneity. Okay. Okay. All right. See, all of you, you're not wrong, right?
Yeah.
So Tanmaya, Sweetie, you're not exactly wrong. But assertiveness is basically the ability to confront communicate, and comprehend without offending anyone. And most importantly, without any aggression, right? Without sounding like you're angry. Okay? The ability to confront when someone does wrong by you, when you go face to face and you ask them straightforward why you did this, that is confrontation, right? Assertiveness is the ability to do that without offending that person and without being aggressive about it, right? It's also the ability to communicate and comprehend, meaning understand what somebody else is also saying and respond to it without any aggression and without offending someone. Now, let's imagine an unpleasant situation at work. Okay, imagine you're a team of 5. Okay, who's managed by a boss. Okay, and this boss comes and undermines you. Something went wrong. It's not entirely your fault. 5 of you are working on it together. The boss just comes in, undermines you, and blames you for it. How will you possibly react to it? Okay, Sona, you're deeply lost in your thoughts. Let me ask you. You're thinking about how you will react, so I'm hoping you'll have an answer for it.
If ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
I will sit quietly, ma'am.
You'll sit quietly. Okay, right. That's so 90% of the people act in one of the following ways, and one of the ways is what you just said, right? It's being passive, taking it without complaints. You're not gonna talk back. You're not gonna fight back. You're not gonna say anything to anyone. But you're feeling bad. You know it's not you. You're feeling bad, but you're quiet about it. That is being passive. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for Sona. Thank you so much for this, Sona. Does anyone have a different answer on how they'll react apart from being quiet? Vidya, yes. I think you're saying something, but you're on mute.
I will say, actually, I will not accept the blame. I need to reply to him that is not my mistake. But I would try to say it like, thank you for the feedback. And I will just explain the situation and tell him that to rethink about that. Or
okay. Oh, I just realized there are 2 Vidyas. That's why both of you were speaking at the same time. Sorry.
Oh my God, sorry.
No, it's fine, okay. Fine. Yeah, I'll say Vidya G and Vidya B, okay? Yes, Vidya B, go.
Defensive?
You'll be defensive.
Like telling what positively I reacted to that, but it didn't work out. So I am trying to.
So, but you're still accepting that it's your fault.
A little bit, but not not accepting also.
Not fully. Okay. So, see, thanks Vidya B and thanks Vidya G. Okay. See, 90% of the people act in one of the following ways. One is like Sona initially said, being passive, not creating any problems, not getting into trouble, but feeling bad on the inside, not doing anything, right? The second is being aggressive, fighting back, confronting with full vigor. How can you possibly say this is on me? There are 5 of us working on this. You think you can just walk all over me and tell me it's my fault? Or rather, maybe not in that, that intensity, but somewhere around there, right? Being aggressive, telling you that I understand what you're saying, but it's not my fault, right? Just giving it straight to them that it's wrong. That's being aggressive. Or the third kind, which is also very, very common, is being passive aggressive, right? Making sly comments like, of course this happens to me. Of course this guy, pins on me. This other person is his favorite. Obviously, he won't say anything for her. And I am the one that always gets pinned. Right? Doesn't talk directly to this person, doesn't confront the boss directly, but shows the aggression elsewhere by making these comments, or maybe even showing it elsewhere in the sense could take it back home too. There have been times where my dad had a bad day at work and he'll come and snap at me at home, right? Many of us do that, and like you're not in a good mood and snap at me, right? That is being passive aggressive, okay? But an assertive person will look at this entirely differently. In the spectrum of what Vidya Gopalan mentioned, right? First thing an assertive person does in a situation like this is analyze what went wrong. Okay? here, firstly, I don't react, I respond, right? There's a difference between reacting to what happens and responding. Okay, reaction is where you don't think, you just be, right? You react to it. Responding is when you process what happened and then give your response to the situation. Okay, the first thing you do is you analyze what went wrong. Okay, my boss has blamed me. It's not like I say something and he's going to take it back immediately, or I can go back in time and change it. But what happened? What pushed him to do that? Like, what went wrong in the first place? Second is empathize. Remember how you understand, you use your understanding of the fact that everyone has different perspectives and they look at the world differently. So you put yourself in your boss's shoes and try to empathize with him. Understand why he is possibly blaming you. Does it mean that he had more hopes on you than everybody else, or were you the lead on that particular project? What could have possibly gone wrong? Third is you take that analysis, you take your empathy and you articulate it. You first process that and then you understand what your stance is. Then you go ahead and communicate your thoughts to your boss respectfully, right? Assertiveness means that you communicate everything that you want to in a very respectful, in a very diplomatic manner. That doesn't mean, you're being a doormat, that you're being a suck up. That's not what I'm saying, right? There's a difference between saying, oh, I know you want me to do this, but I'm so sorry I can't do this, and saying, hey, I understand why you want me to do this, but I can't do it. And saying, what are you talking? I can't do this at all, right? There's a difference between the three. All I'm asking you to do is be assertive, be stern, and tell them, communicate your thoughts respectfully without offending someone and without any aggression. And the reason why assertiveness is very, very important and diplomacy is very, very important in the workplace is that it's very easy to be friends with someone you're working with than be, not in good terms. It takes a lot of effort, to be honest, to not be in good terms with someone, right? Hate is probably a very, very strong word, but trying to not like someone and avoiding them or just not being in good terms takes a lot more effort and makes your life at work much harder than it is to even pretend to like someone. That's one thing I've learned working in the corporate world. It's just much easier that way to just, pretend to smile and move on. Like, things just get easier that way, right? Moving on. Speaking of clear and concise communication. Now, this is going to be an activity-based learning thing. So I need 2 volunteers to read out a particular dialogue between 2 people. So can someone volunteer? Volunteer to read that out for me and enact that situation. So the context is there are 2 friends who are working together. They're business partners. Okay. One of them is unhappy and they're having a conversation about it. Okay. So can 2 people volunteer? Or should I bring in Vidya squared again to the forefront?
No, it will be a confusion. Vidya versus Vidya.
No, that's fine. You have aliases in this, Anu and Ramya, so that's okay. Does anyone volunteer? Come on, guys. You don't communicate better by just, yes, yeah, Savita and Simi, yes. Go. Savita be Anu, Simi be Ramya. Just read out. There are also pointers on how you should sound in the brackets. So yeah, look at that. Oh, hold on for just a second. Let me just make a little change. Okay. Want to make a tiny little change to this. Right. Yeah. So can you guys still see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Start.
Hey Ramya, what's on your mind?
I've been thinking about making a major career shift.
Oh, yeah. What are you considering?
I want to explore a different career path.
Kavita?
Do you hear what I said?
About what?
My career change.
Oh, that. What about it?
Don't you have anything to say about it?
Look, I buy you lunch every day, share profits equally, and cover health insurance too. What more do you want?
It's not just about that. I feel like you don't value my work as much as you should.
Look at how much I do for you.
It's not just about what you do. It's also about how you treat me compared to paying clients.
Fine, let's talk about it then.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Both of you did a fabulous job. Let me first say that. The second thing is, see, actually, I happen to work with my best friend. In fact, she works for me part-time. Okay. And the thing about that is, everyone keeps saying that dosti or dhanda shouldn't be together and it never works, jamta nahi hai, and everything. But for us, it's never been a problem simply because we speak about ourselves. I mean, like, we use I a lot more than you, right? I don't go and tell her, so she works for me, right? I review her work. So I never go and tell her that what have you done? This is wrong. This is not how you do it. Even in a nicer tone, I don't tell her that, what you've done is not working for me. I say that I think this would be better because of this, or I think you could do it this way. The moment you make your you statements into I statements, your relationship with anybody will be better, be it your boss, be it the person who's your junior who reports to you, be it your partners, whoever, right? So that's just a little pointer before we get into the juiciest part of today's session, which is the 7 C's of effective communication. Now, if you've been a little dazed so far, now would be a great time to wake up and listen, because this could be really helpful to you, right? Now, once we are done with this part and we've understood how you can communicate better, let's revisit that Anu versus Ramya conversation and how it can possibly be better, right? Okay. Now, the first thing about communicating well is clarity, being clear, right? Be clear about the goal of your message and the purpose of your message. Present one idea at a time, making it easier for the recipient of your message to understand. Don't leave them guessing for what the message is about, having to fill in the gaps themselves. For example, imagine you are giving feedback to somebody who works for you, or like who's a junior, or basically even a colleague, anybody at work, right? Don't just say this doesn't work. This is not nice. Maza nahi aa raha. All of that has no direction. It's baseless, right? You tell me this is not working because of XYZ reason, then I know what to work on, right? So don't leave anybody guessing for what you're trying to say. Firstly, you need to be clear with your stance, right? What is the stand you're taking? What are you trying to communicate? The moment you have clarity in it, you've already halfway there. Because it's very easy, right? Imagine I come here and I'm very doubtful. Okay, I keep saying, I think this is what it is. You're not going to be motivated to listen to me because you would think that I don't know my shit, right? I'm not being clear. I'm not communicating clearly with you, which makes you think that I'm not competent enough to communicate with you, right? So that's one of the biggest mistakes people make at work. You want to talk, you have so many things to say, but because you don't take those 3 seconds to understand what you want to say, you lose that conversation, right? So always set a goal or an outcome for what you want to communicate and work towards that, work backwards. Okay. So how do you do that? Again, the second point helps you do that. Second thing is being concise, conciseness. Keep it to the point. Okay, keep it short. One thing I've learned in advertising is use as less words as possible. So I'm a copywriter, okay? So be it your ads in your TV, ads on YouTube, ads on Reels, anything, right? Our attention span in 2024 is that of a goldfish, right? You have very less attention span. Somehow we're also the same people who sit and binge watch series for episodes and episodes and episodes together. But we're also the people who scroll past a reel if it's not interesting in the first 3 seconds, right? So the moment you use more words than necessary, people understand that you can't communicate well because you're beating around the bush, right? If you can use 3 words instead of 6, use 3 words. If you can say something in 2 sentences instead of 8, use 2 sentences. Fortunately, you live in 2024 and you have access to tools like Grammarly, you have access to ChatGPT, especially while communicating on email, while communicating on Slack, any internal communication channels, WhatsApp, any written communication, specifically, please be as concise as possible. No one likes to read an entire blob of text, right? Do you ever read any of those long forwards? Unless and until it's properly put forth, right? So try to be as concise as possible. This will also make any communication a lot more engaging, in the sense that your respondent is more likely to respond to you if it is concise, if it's short, okay, and easier to understand. Okay, that brings me to the third point, which is concreteness. Be clear, don't be fuzzy. How do you be concise? You cut out all the unnecessary stuff out of it, right? That's how you be that's how you get to be concise. You be concrete, don't be fuzzy. Ensure there's enough detail to get the message across, but not too much that the recipient gets lost in what they need to focus on, right? If I'm trying to tell you, so imagine there is, touch shoot, this doesn't happen, but imagine there's a fire in my building, okay, somewhere it's there. If the caretaker comes and has to inform me that there is a fire, I have to take whatever I can and evacuate. If he's constantly talking about how they burdened him with so much work, or there is a plumbing issue, this and that, and finally gets to the part where there is a fire and I have to evacuate, I don't know which one to focus on. At that point in time, I have to evacuate, right? And he's probably giving me instructions on how to evacuate. I shouldn't take this particular exit, I should take a different exit. All of that is fine. But the first thing he has to tell me is that I have to evacuate soon and that I have to take exit B. If he keeps giving me a lot of other information, then I'm not going to get that straight, right? So get to the point. Adding too much noise around your main points can mean that your main point gets missed. Make sure that your main point or the crux of your message and your conclusion is very, very clear to the recipient. Okay. Speaking of clarity and concreteness, let me give you a working example of what situation you might endure at work, right? All of us attend meetings at work. All of us take the minutes of the meeting notes, right? What happens is it's just crazy how, everyone just understands and vomits whatever conversation happened in the meeting into the minutes. What good does that do to anybody, right? Of course, it records what happens, and nowadays your Google Meet, your Teams, or your Zoom can also do it by itself. But always towards the end of the minutes of the meeting, if you add action points, say I always do that whenever I have a meeting with a client, I put action points, and then underneath that, for every person involved in the meeting, I put separate action points. For instance, if Simi, Tanmaya, and I have a meeting, I would first put down the minutes of the meeting, the key points that we discussed. I will probably compartmentalize them into sections that we discussed. Say one is about effective communication 1 is about effective communication 2, and the third is about interview readiness. I put that down. And then in the last, I put action points. And I'll say action points for Aarti, action points for Tanmaya, action points for Simi. It's very easy for me to backtrack what needs to be done. At the end of the day, a lot of times you're going to have to sit through meetings that could have literally been an email. You'd be asked to waste time like that. You should be the proactive person that brings concreteness and clarity to the meeting by discussing action points. What is the whole point of the damn meeting? You have to do something, right? What is it that you have to do? Whether it's an in-person meeting or not, ensure that if you're the one conducting the meeting, great. You have the complete control to do this. You can either instruct someone to do it or you can do it yourself. Just put down the action points. If you're someone attending the meeting, even better. Great chance to impress your boss. You be the one that proactively initiates this, and it's just much easier for everybody to understand what needs to be done, right? Okay, moving to the next point. Correctness. Check the information that you're providing is accurate or not, especially when it comes to written communication like email, Slack, WhatsApp, any internal communication channel. It's going to be there forever. No one's recording you while you're speaking, but your emails, your messages are going to be there forever. Please ensure that what you're saying is right. Secondly, please ensure they're free of any grammatical or spell errors. Again, just use Grammarly or ChatGPT. They can help you. You don't have to always work hard. You can work smart as well, right? GPT, there are so many GPT tools apart from ChatGPT also. There's copy.ai, there's Asana, there's so many things that can help you write better and communicate better. Grammarly is basically just an extension, and it automatically corrects your spelling and everything else for free. Just add that extension, ensure that you check what you're saying. And correctness also means that you understand your audience, right? You can't go and that brings me to the next point, which is coherence, right? Ensure that your message flows well and is laid out logically. The points you make should all be linked to the main point. You can't just randomly talk about things and expect people to understand. So ensure that the tone of the message is the same throughout, right? If you're writing an email which is asking for a leave or applying for a leave, your tone can't be assertive or stern in the beginning and very aggressive towards the end, right? You better give me this leave or whatever. So ensure that the tone is consistent, ensure that the message is consistent, and structure your communication enough to help you, right? Speaking of coherence, another thing is you must have noticed most of you must be on LinkedIn. Most of you must be consuming content on LinkedIn. If you look at what posts you actually end up reading, they would all be posts that are spaced out properly. That's easier for you to understand, right? You will not probably read an entire blob of text. You will not probably look at the hoardings around you in bus stands, in skywalks, whatever, right? If it's cluttered, if there's too much information, you're not going to see it. You're not going to read it. If it's indented properly, if there's proper spacing, it's easier for you to read. You end up reading it without even realizing you're reading it. Right? It makes things easier. Whenever you're writing an email, ensure that there are no more than 2 or 3 sentences in a single paragraph, because most people read emails from their phone, and it doesn't look the same way it looks in your laptop, in a phone, in a device. That's different, right? So ensure that you're breaking up your paragraphs properly. Okay. The last point here, the penultimate point here is completeness, right? Ensure that the recipient has everything they need to understand about your message and take action if needed. If action is needed, ensure your message includes a call to action, right? Similarly, like how I told you earlier, your minutes of the meeting has action points. When you're writing an email, when you're raising a problem, please close that circle, close that loop. If you're communicating something to someone, there is a purpose to it, right? So what you want them to do is something that has to be clear to them. If you're writing simply to inform, start with that. I'm writing to just keep you on the loop on whatever, right? In case something crops up in the future, I want you to be informed of this. Or rather, if you're asking for help, ensure that you communicate that clearly and your message in entirety communicates that to the person, right? Specific details must be clear and must be included. Don't leave them asking for a lot of questions. Think about how you will check. So imagine you are the recipient of what you're saying. What would you want to know? That's an easy backward way to, structure what you want to say. The last one is courteousness. Now, forget all of the other C's. This is literally the most important C, right? Regardless of how clear you are, how concise you are, how concrete you are, right? Imagine someone's giving a very bad idea. You know it's going to go bad, and you know exactly why it is bad and why it won't work, and you know what can work too. Okay, all of these are legitimate points. If you don't put this forward courteously and properly, no one's going to listen to you. It's useless, right? The essence of communication is that your message gets received in the way it was intended, right? And one of the easiest ways to ensure that happens is by being courteous. Your message should be polite, friendly, professional, open, and honest. No one, trust me, nobody likes to be a bummer, right? But the more straightforward you are in a very assertive, polite manner, the more you come off as an approachable person, a dependable person. Trust gets formed when you are being polite, when you're looking people in the eye, right? Think about your message from the recipient's point of view. Bring in that empathy, bring in that much needed empathy, right? My point is, see, all of us started our career at some point, okay? And when we were just starting out, there's obviously been that one person that made us feel so bad about ourselves and gave us such bad feedback that we probably ended up contemplating our career choices. It's happened to me. I've thought about quitting my job. I've thought about how bad I was. Sometimes feedback's just so harsh that it's just, so bad. Like if you're ever at a point where you're giving feedback to someone, just ensure that you do that with kindness and with empathy. The point of it should not be to prove them wrong or talk them down. The point of it always should be that your work gets done. That's the priority, not to, bring someone down. So just show that extra kindness and empathy. I'm sure all of you have, so much experience. So when you go back to work, you're definitely going to have people reporting to you. So just try and ensure that you're kind to them and you treat people the way you want to be treated, right? Especially when they're just starting their career out, it can be a real, game changer for them if you show kindness. That means that they're going to be kind to everyone else they ever going to manage. So just leaving that there. Following these 7 C's of communication, you should be able to, deliver whatever you want to communicate in a much more effective fashion, right? I know this sounds like a very overwhelming thing right now, but this is just a little nudge for you to understand how, right? It's more of an unconscious process. It's a subconscious process. It's going to keep happening. Yes, Shipali.
Yeah, I just have a question. Like you said that we have to be kind, like, right? So we can choose our words wisely, but being kind, sometimes create a situation of taken for granted. Like, because this has happened with me earlier. So when, like I have now almost a 2 years of break, but when I working, so like my juniors, when I used to be kind to them, they have done such things that were, that had led to
led you into trouble.
Yes. So yeah, kindness, I have felt it that kindness have never worked for me. Like it's not just professional, but in personal things as well. If we talk about the house helps also, so they also don't treat kindness with kindness, or they will acknowledge at least. They will always
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, okay? And I'm very sorry you had a bad experience with your juniors before this. But one thing I want to clarify rather is that there is a difference between being kind and being lenient. I'm not asking you to be lenient. I'm just asking you to be kind. The focus is still to get work done and exactly the way it should be. Just not with a lot of aggression. There's a difference between being aggressive or passive aggressive and being assertive, right? We went over that. Again, I'm not asked. There's a difference between saying, see, you did a great job. just a little thing. Can you just change this up? There's a difference between saying that and saying, hey, thanks for doing this. However, this one point is missing and it's very critical, and you've made this mistake. Tell me how I can help you, but this needs to change right now. Right? There's a difference between being kind and not attacking a person. That is being kind, right? Attacking a person is by saying, what were you even thinking? What made you think this could possibly be right? Did you learn nothing? Is a personal attack. Saying you did this wrong, but this needs to change is being kind and still getting work done, right? So I'm not asking you to be lenient. I'm just asking you to be kind and empathetic. I hope I answered your question. Did I? Okay. All right. Now, let's try this again, right? So I think I have Simi and Savita again, if you may. Or should I just read it out myself? Come on, we're short of time, so very quickly.
You want us to read, or you want?
Yeah, read it.
Can you start with Anu?
Yes.
Okay. This isn't about what you do for me, Ramya. It's about what you did to me.
Go on.
When I came to talk to you about something important, you were dismissive. It made me feel unheard and disrespected.
I'm sorry, Anu. I didn't mean to hurt you or make you feel ignored. I should have been more mindful and considerate when you brought up your career shift.
It's okay. Thank you for apologizing. Moving forward, let's work on better communication and support each other's aspirations, both professionally and personally.
My point being, wait, didn't you guys like switch? Weren't you Ramya before? Okay, anyway, doesn't matter. My point being this, if you see again, when Anu is confronting, there's no aggression. The moment there's aggression, it turns into personal attacks. And there is no solution that's arrived on, right? It only makes the relationship much worse. And the problem is still very much there, right? But if you notice, like I mentioned to you earlier about me and my best friend, this is a conversation where Anu is talking about herself and how she feels, not about what Ramya did, which is what made Ramya realize and apologize, right? So whenever you're talking, right, at the workplace, remember when to take a practical stand and when to take an emotional stand. And especially at the workplace, even when you're taking an emotional stand, it needs to have a practical backing because you're not personally involved with each other. Emotions might not be of great value, but the only way you can tackle such a situation is by practically putting forward what your emotions are, right? And that's exactly what assertive communication is all about, right? Most times, as much as I hate that, try to reason everything out, try to go in with a practical perspective, because that's when you know for a fact that you will be heard and you will be answered. Emotions are usually ignored, right? So always have a practical thing to say more than an emotional thing to say. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Summarizing effectively. This is a great skill to have, and I wish many people that I work with have this. It's just much easier while talking, while writing. Being able to summarize and paraphrase is a skill that'll take you to places, right? Let's understand what they are. Okay. First thing, what's a summary? A summary by default is a shorter version of the original thing, right? So, especially, like I said, I'm going back to the minutes of the meeting thing again. Imagine someone doesn't come to a meeting and you're just passing on the minutes, right? The minutes are there is a difference between a summary and a paraphrase or a report. right? A summary, the word summary by default refers to a version that's much shorter than the original version, which is 25 to 30% of the original, right? Nothing more. Okay. Now, how do you summarize effectively? Let's understand this with an example. Imagine you're preparing a presentation for your CEO. Okay. You asked everyone in your team to contribute, and they all had a lot of things to say. But unfortunately or fortunately, by the end of it, you have a dozen reports on what can go into the presentation, right? 12 people have given you 12 different things in 12 different styles, but your CEO is very clear that she wants a very short presentation. She only has 10 minutes, okay, to do the final version. Now, the solution is to paraphrase and summarize wherever needed. Firstly, what's the difference between paraphrasing and summarizing? Can someone tell me? Quickly, guys, we don't have time. Or should I just go ahead and do it myself? Okay, a summary is a definitely short version. Okay, a paraphrase need not essentially be a short version. A summary definitely does not include any opinion, any judgment, anything, right? That's a commentary. What you see in IPL is when someone else is playing on the field, there are commentators sitting and giving their 2 cents on how that player should have played or how they are playing. That's a commentary because it has opinions, it has judgment. A summary does not have opinion, a summary does not have judgment. It's just a shorter version put in your own words. Paraphrasing is where you explain something else or somebody else's ideas in your own words, but there's no shortening involved. There could be some opinion, there could be some judgment because you are like paraphrasing it, right? A summary is where you distill all of that information and you highlight only the critical points. Okay. Now, here's an example of a summary, how a summary works. Okay, this is the original version, and in the next slide, I have a summary. Okay, so now let me read this out for you. Okay, so how do you go about identifying your strengths and weaknesses and analyzing the opportunities and threats that flow for them? SWOT analysis is a useful technique that helps you do this. What makes SWOT especially powerful is that with a little thought, it can help you uncover opportunities that you would not have otherwise spotted. And by understanding your weakness, you can manage and eliminate threats that might otherwise hurt your ability to move forward in your role. If you look at yourself using the SWOT framework, you can start to separate yourself from your peers and further develop the specialized talents and abilities that you need in order to advance your career and also help you achieve personal goals. This is the original version. This is a summary. A SWOT analysis is a technique that helps you identify strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Understanding and managing each of these factors help you develop abilities you need to achieve your goals and progress in your career. That's exactly what this thing said. It had a lot of details, but summary is where you effectively pick and choose what's the most important. You take a call there, and then you give only a consolidated version of the original, right? Moving on, verbal and non-verbal communication. Now, this is like the last piece of the puzzle, right? So let's first go into verbal communication, right? There are two key aspects to verbal communication. One is active listening, and the second is effective speaking. Now, when it comes to communicating with another person, it can become easy to plan your response when you actively listen to the conversation, right? Because a communication by any means is expecting a response from you. Otherwise, it's a lecture, right? A lecture is a one-way communication. Most communication is two ways, and that means you have to articulate a response, right? Active listening is important when you are giving presentations, when you're attending a meeting, but it's the most important thing to do when you're having one-on-one conversation because you are in the hot water at that time, right? You are in the spotlight, you're put on the spot. It helps you understand the message and prepare a response based on it. Now, how do you actively listen? First thing is keep your distractions at minimum. That starts with acknowledging and understanding what your distractions are in the first place. For instance, right, I'm trying to communicate to you here. We are having an interactive class, but I'm doing a lot of talking. Now, what distracts me is that when someone's mic is on and there is noise, it shuts my thoughts out. So what I do is I understand that it's affecting how I deliver my content. So I open the participants section and I mute everybody. Okay. So keep your distractions at the minimum. So I am able to listen to, right? If possible, for instance, especially when you're working from home, you might have a lot of distractions. But even when you're working from office, a lot of times, I think Avneet and everybody else from Herky on this call will understand that there's always a lot of noise when they work from office, a lot more, right? So the easiest thing to do would be to move to a quieter place and focus, right? The first thing that affects your focus is noise. Cut the noise out. Second, most importantly, maintain an open mind. When you're actively listening to a speaker, try to keep an open mind and avoid jumping to conclusions and judgments, right? One of the things that I mostly have a fight with my partner about is that he's constantly thinking about a response when I'm trying to tell him something. It's very annoying when you don't listen to my problem first and you're already coming up with an answer, right? So don't do that. Maintain an open mind. Your first goal is to finish listening. What do? Especially in the workplace, I never open my mouth before I count to 3 in my head, right? When someone's done talking, I count to 3 in my head and only then I start responding to it. Because talking over someone can be extraordinarily disrespectful, and it also leads to an awkward moment where you keep saying, "Oh, you go first. Oh, no, you say it. Sorry, what were you saying? I lost my train of thought." Worst thing ever. Always count to 3 in your head. That's the rule of 3 that I follow. Another rule of 3 rather. So that will really help you, not disrespect someone in a certain way as well. Focus on what the speaker is saying before jumping to any conclusion. Listen to what the speaker is saying. Formulate your response based on it and reply only after the speaker is done talking. That's when the rule of 3 comes, right? Avoid concentration on a particular aspect of the message. Instead, try to understand the entire message, grasp the major points, and then get to specifics. Always when you're responding to any kind of communication, follow a top-down approach. Meaning, imagine an inverted triangle or a cone. It starts big and then it comes small, right? That's how news articles are written. It starts with the major details and then towards the end comes the specifics, right? So whenever someone's communicating to you and you're trying to comprehend and respond to the major things first and then boil down to the specifics. That helps them be more attentive and give you a better response. Moving on to effective speaking. Effective speaking is about how effectively you can deliver an intended message to your audience. And there are 3 key elements of effective speaking. First one is word choice. While words may vary depending on the situation, the topic, and the audience, choosing the right words is essential to communicate the right message. For example, your word choice would be very different when you're trying to get in a favor from your boss versus you're telling them something's not working, right? And the choice of words are also very different. Now, regardless of how great your points are, the choice of words that you use and the tone at which you speak will dictate the the degree of favorable response you can expect from someone, right? That brings me to my next point, which is delivery. The way you deliver a message, which is your tone, your body language, and everything, can significantly affect the message you're trying to convey, right? So it's important to be aware of the pace and tone of your voice while you're communicating to others. When I just started out my career, I got to know very, very late that I speak too fast and people don't even understand me, right? Sometimes I used to speak so fast, they'll just nod and move along. But then none of the work would be done. And like at the end of the day, I would have already suggested an idea. I would have spoken so fast that people wouldn't understand. Later that day, my colleague would go and suggest the same idea and it would be her idea because they were able to understand her and not me, right? So pace yourself, understand how you're received. Like, sometimes maybe if you have a confidant at your workplace, check in with them and see if you're being understood the way you want to, right? And the last part is non-verbal communication, and it plays a crucial role in effective speaking, because the cues you send through your facial expression, your gestures, your body, your posture significantly affect how your audience perceives your message. Because you can't say one thing with your words and a different thing with your face, right? Many people do that. Passive aggressive people do that, right? You're okay with what they're saying. Of course. That makes no sense. They know that you're being passive aggressive. So there are 6 key things that you need to learn or know about non-verbal communication. The first is kinesics. Kinesics refers to movement of any part, any degree. This could be your hand gestures, how much you move across the room, your facial expressions, right? Too much of any of this is going to distract your audience, and they're not going to be able to understand or rather grasp what you're saying so much, right? A lot of times there could be situations where your colleagues or whatever is said at work triggers you, makes you want to roll your eyes and sigh and do huff and puff and be irritated, right? So try not to do that. Try to keep that at the very minimum, especially when you're trying to move your hands during a presentation, right? Uh, Try to keep your hand movements within the frame of your face and your neck, meaning you do only this and that. The moment you start doing that and this, you start looking animated. And the moment you move too much, people are getting distracted. That brings me to the second point. When you're moving, right? Proximity and personal space is very, very important. As Indians, we're used to, standing like this in lines. Well, when we're in a rush, we just don't see who's in front of us. We just go. We just want to hit that lift up button and catch that lift, right? But especially when you're in a workplace, please be mindful of everybody else's personal space. And that brings me to the next point also, which is haptics, which refers to touch. Don't take the liberty to touch anyone. I don't think it would be a problem for any of you all, but I see a lot of young men and young women who are just starting their career out do not have any sense of proximity or touch, right? You're all used to hugging and high-fiving very much, and I'm sure it's not a problem for you guys, but especially when you're in with friends, right? When you're working with friends or you become friends with someone you work, you still remember that they're your colleague and do not take the liberty to be physically that close to them as you would be with any other friend, right? Oculesics refers to eye contact. I don't know what science can explain, but there is definitely some exchange of energy when you're making eye contact, right? Eye contact is a great way to establish trust. Only people who are secure and confident and good at heart can make eye contact. Everyone else just can't make eye contact, right? Eye contact is great. It's very important when you're trying to communicate with someone. But please don't freak people out by just staring at them for a very long time. That's also something I've seen people do. They just zone out on your face, right? They're looking at you like that, and but in their head they are, somewhere else. But it's still very, very creepy. So try not to do that. Vocalics refers to your voice. Again, try to be audible. Try to pace yourself. Ensure that your tone is good. It's good to talk loudly, but don't yell either, right? I tend to do that a lot. I'm a very loud person by nature. Sometimes I speak so loud that people misunderstand me for yelling at them. So remember that. Chronemics is the most important part of nonverbal communication because it's the most ignored. Chronemics refers to time. Okay, time is vital. You cannot keep taking your own sweet time. You can't keep talking slowly and going on and on and on and on and on. The longer you take, the lesser people listen. Just remember that. And that brings us to the end of this session. But before we close for the day, I have three more situations that we can try to act out by ourselves. Right? I need people who want to try this out. Okay, you remember this whole Anu and Ramya thing we did? So like that, I have three more situations that we can look at responding to. One second. right? So when someone takes credit for your idea, when you're asked to stay late, when you're about to leave office for a personal obligation, you have to give negative feedback to somebody you're close to, right? These are situations you're very likely to, encounter at work. So let's see how y'all deal with this situation. So may I have 1 or 2 volunteers? Yeah? No? No one wants to communicate effectively in this class? Are baapre, what did I try doing the last 1.5 hours? Come on, are you all telling me it was a colossal waste of my time and yours? You guys. Okay. Shruti. Hi, Shruti. Were you a part of yesterday's class also?
Yes.
How
Yeah.
come you're attending the same session twice? Am I that interesting?
Nah, like, I just want, like, your sessions are very, very thoughtful. Like, I mean, how to say, like, points which you explained were like very, practical and easy to understand. So
Okay,
I
okay.
attend
Thank you so
session.
very much, Shruti. Yeah, I think you didn't get a chance to speak yesterday, right?
No, I spoke with the situation too. You remember, right? Going to work.
Oh, right. Okay, then shall we give somebody else a chance this time?
Sure, sure. Nobody was there to respond, right? So I wanted to
Oh,
take
right,
up.
right, right. No,
Fine,
no,
fine.
now we have Sweetie respond
Okay.
to us. And
Yeah.
if nobody else does, you can take a different situation from what you did. Yes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Sweetie, which situation do you pick?
That's fine. I want to speak about first situation.
First situation. Okay, the first situation states that someone's taking credit for your idea. So let me set context, okay? You and I are colleagues, okay? We are in the same level, okay? The same designation.
Yes, ma'am.
So yesterday we had an internal huddle, okay? You, me, and maybe 2, 3 other people, and you gave a great idea, okay? So the idea is XYZ, and today we are having a bigger meeting with all the bosses and everything. And I am now talking about that. We're all brainstorming, and I'm just saying, so XYZ is the idea, and isn't that great? And I'm not taking credit for it, but I'm not saying it out loud that it's Sweetie's idea. So everyone ends up thinking it's my idea. It's implied that it's my idea. Okay. Now you are also in that meeting. Act like you are in that meeting and go on and say whatever you have to say.
I will say that I have already told about this, and I think this idea is very effective for us to complete this XYZ project. And I have already discussed about this idea with my colleagues, and I have also added some points to enhance the meeting project or anything else.
Okay. Firstly, great attempt. Okay. The direction in which you are going is right. But in a situation like this, the ideal way to go about it, according to me, is for you get up, you say, thank you so much, Aarti, for bringing my idea to the spotlight. Actually, we were discussing about this yesterday, and I was just thinking XYZ things can be done to make this idea better and give more details, right? So plug in that it was your idea without offending anybody else, also without being very cocky. And the tone is very important. You can't sound like you're angry about it or you're pissed about it. Keep a very clear mind. What you're saying is absolutely right, but you should use more words, is what I'm saying. Anybody else wants to try situation number 2? Come on, guys. What is this, yeah?
Ma'am, my connection just got disconnected, so I don't know which is the situation. Can you show it again?
Sure. So, Jaita, so the thing is, I'm your boss, okay? I'm going to ask you to stay late when you're about to leave office. Say you have to go take care of your child, okay? Imagine you have a child, you're going to take care of the child. I'm your boss, and I'm now going to have a conversation with you. Just go on with the conversation, okay? Yeah? Are you with me?
Yes.
I can't see you.
You can't see me? Oh, I have to start my video. Yes.
Right. So, Jaita, see, I know it's 7 o'clock, but you really have to pick up the pace and you have to finish this project today. Yeah. Only then we can send it to be developed tomorrow and to the client later tomorrow. So, please get this done.
I don't get it. Like I have to take some time to do my leftover work, or
No. See, the situation is very simple. You're gonna. I'm your boss. I'm asking you to stay late when you're about to leave the office. It's time for you to leave the office. Like 7 o'clock is when you usually leave. Okay. It's time for you to leave the office, and you want to leave because you have to go take care of your child. Okay. And I'm asking you to stay back and finish some work. Now give me a response.
So in that case, I have to arrange some extra person to take care of my child because I have to do the work.
I'm not
that is
asking
more.
you. No, Jaita. I'm not asking you what you would do. I'm asking you to have that conversation with me.
Okay, with you as a boss?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, don't worry. I will do it today as it is important. But before that, I have to arrange. I have to make call to my house and I have to arrange someone for my son. And then
Imagine
I will let
you have to go. No. You can't arrange for anything. You have to go. You have a personal obligation. You can't stay back in the office. That's the conversation you're having.
Okay. In that case, I need some time from the boss to give to do that work later. Maybe in the
I'm not
night.
asked. No, talk to me like you would talk to your boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please give me some time to do this work. As I'm already loaded with other stuff.
See, I know you're loaded with other stuff, but this is very important, Jada. We have only if you finish this today can we actually deliver it on time. We're already behind.
In that case, you have to tell me this before because it is almost the time to go home and everyone is waiting for me at home.
What do you mean I have to tell you this before? I'm telling you now. You didn't finish your job.
Please give me some extra time to do this.
If I could, I would. I'm telling you. I really want to, but there's no time. You tell me, what can I do?
Is there any, you just suggest me, is there any other way I can do it without affecting my personal life?
Okay, see, this is a good idea. I'm so sorry for putting you on the spot. I was just trying to go on with it. I was just trying to get you to communicate better. This is a situation all of us have endured before, will endure even after we go back to work. Point is, the easiest way to handle is again analyze, empathize, articulate, right? First, try to understand why this is happening, right? So, come and tell me, Aarti, I understand, but why is it suddenly a big priority? And you have that conversation, and then you say, "Hey, I understand it's extraordinarily important, and I am with you. I want to do this. Trust me, I want to do this. I will get it done, but I have to get home now. What I can possibly do is either work from home. I go. I need a couple of hours. After I'm done with stuff at home, I can log in and get this done. So you have it, or I can come. I can badge in early tomorrow and finish this before you get to the office. So you can look over it before it's sent to the next team. Or I can give a knowledge transfer right now to somebody else who can take it up. You tell me what can be done. The only way to go about with it is be clear that you can't do something. If you're going to be saying in that case, she's not going to continue talking to you. She's going to say that Chaita, just get it done, and she'll walk away. Right? If you're hesitating, it's over. Right? Try to be as stern as possible, but very, very respectful. The key to getting things done your way is to making this boss understand that you are on his or her team. You want this to happen. You understand the depth of the situation. You want to work, you will get it done. But that doesn't mean you're going to ignore what other obligations you have, right? Okay, all right. So yeah, does anyone have any questions about the session? Anything I can help you with? I think I can quickly take one question before I say bye bye for now. Yeah, Chaitanya, yes. You're on mute. Okay, anybody else? Does anyone else have a question? Shipali, you had a question, right? Oh, you volunteered to do the situation thing.
Actually, it's the same situation I wanted to.
Too late. What were you doing when I was begging Peter to come and join you? Okay, anyone else has any other question? Any feedback on the session? Did you all like it? Was it useful? Okay, Swati has left me a comment. The session is really good. Thank you. Wanted to ask where we can revisit this session. That is something you should ask Avneet. 1 second, hold on. Let me give you links to my profiles again in case anyone wants to be in touch with me later. It's also done. Thank you very much for joining the session. Chaitanya, yes, I can see that you've raised your hand, but I'm not able to hear you. You can drop your question on the comments section too. If you're not able to unmute yourself.
For the earlier situation, I want to talk.
Sorry?
For the
I don't understand.
previous situation, I want to talk actually. It is previous one.
Oh, okay. So maybe we can do this in the next session because I was begging all of you all to come and talk to me. Then all of you all just like stay mum, and now after it's
One person is
12:30,
already
you
engaging, so I don't want to interrupt anyone.
Okay. So do you have anything new to add apart from what you've already learned? Mute again, I can't hear you. Savita, Vidya, yes. What is it that you want to?
Hi, ma'am. I just wanted to thank you. Like it was a very good, and your smiles and skills.
Thank you so much, Savita.
It was an
Thank you.
incredible training, and I had a very good time interacting with you.
I
Thanks
am
a
very
lot.
glad. Lucky for you and for my bank account. We are going to meet 2 more times for effective communication too and for interview readiness. So I will see you very, very soon. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes, Vidya. Vidya, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, there was a situation, assuming the situation that somebody is yelling at you at a crowd. How to react or
When someone's
communicate?
just yelling at you at a crowd.
Yes.
Can you give me more context? I'm not able to
Yeah.
like.
Yes. There was a classroom. Okay, thinking something like that. A professor comes and he sees something is not right, and as admin staff, somebody is standing there. So he starts shouting at the admin staff. How the admin staff has to react?
Wait, you're in a classroom, you're a student,
Right,
or you're the
leave
staff?
this situation. I think this is a fussy situation. Okay, your manager is shouting before your team. How to respond to that?
Right.
Maybe it
I
must
think this
be.
is exactly the situation that we looked at even when we were learning assertiveness, right? My point being, the assertive thing to do over here would be to first process and understand why it's happening, right? Although it has to happen very quick. When someone's yelling at you, you can't take your own free time to analyze, think why this person is doing. All of that has to happen very quickly. The first thing you can do is let them finish. Don't interrupt. Let them be done. Okay. And then go back and confront respectfully. So let me give you an example. Okay. So so I was working at an advertising agency, and there was a big account, a big client who spoke to the VP, who is my boss's boss, okay, and said that work's not happening properly and they just want to drop us, okay, which means it's a huge loss for the business, okay. So there are two people in my boss's level. So it's me on the grassroots level. Imagine I'm level 1. So there are 2 people, and there were many people in level 1. There were 2 people in level 2 who was, one of whom was my boss, and there was this other lady. And then above them is the VP, the vice president. Okay. Is that clear? Did you understand that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what happened was the VP who got to whom the client spoke and said they wanted to drop us, got onto a call with all of us in level 1 and level 2 and started yelling at my boss and the other level 2 person. Okay. One of those, the other lady basically just was fighting with this boss because it was not her mistake. It's none of our mistakes. It was actually the client's issue. And she was like, how can you say this? It's not like we only did it. And she kept going on and on with a back and forth confrontation with the boss, with the VP, right? What my boss did was she just very cleverly, she handled this situation so beautifully. She just said that, listen, I have a call to get to right now. Let me call you back after that was done. Okay. She was very, very annoyed because she was being blamed for things that she did not do. And she was parallelly texting me about how this is wrong. She was very, very pissed. But she didn't react there. She just said she'll call you back, call the VP back separately after her set call was done, although she didn't have any call to get, right? 15-20 minutes later, she just gave that VP some time to cool off. She called him and she said, before even she could say anything, this guy apologized. Firstly, he said that I was very, very tense. This is a huge deal. All of us are going to be on fire if this happens. And I'm sorry I yelled at you, but why the hell is this happening? Right? And that's when she gave an answer, a clear answer to why it was not our problem and it was the client's problem, and it got sorted. Now, guess who got promoted? Is it the lady who yelled, or is it the lady who, gave that boss some time to cool off? It's obviously the lady who was assertive enough to, handle that situation properly, right? So often the easiest thing to think is that if you're skilled, if you're good at your work, you get promoted. But it's usually the emotionally intelligent people. It's the people who know how to handle situations that get promoted, because work is a lot more to do with handling people and putting out fires than to do the actual work, right? So it was very similar to the question you asked. That's why I shared this anecdote. I hope this helped you, Vidya. Did you get your answer?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining in, guys. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Aarti, for
Bye
this
bye.
beautiful session.
Thank
Really
you.
enjoyed it.
Thanks, Simi. Thank you so very much. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Have a great day.
Thank you, Aarti. Okay, ladies, thank you so very much. I hope you are doing all the certifications in time, as day after tomorrow, again, you have the SME session and the new topic will be started again. So if there are any pending, certifications are left, or any course which you have not finished as yet, please try to do it within today and tomorrow, so that you are prepped up for the new session and the new courses going ahead. Yeah. Thank you very much and have a lovely day ahead. We'll see you on
hello?
Thursday.
Bye.
Yes.
Hello?
Swati.
Yeah, hi. So I just wanted to know if I want to go through again this session, where should I find the recording and all?
See, anyone and everyone who is asking for the recordings, these are live sessions. So it is always good if you attend the sessions live.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's true.
And if I may